was very pleased when they asked me to have this conversation because and you don't know that, but I have followed your work for several years, and also it had some influence on me as a writer, your work. And not only on me, but I would say also on contemporary Norwegian literature, because there is a generation today who's working with autobiographical stuff, and there are several influences, and one of them are you. And especially your books. I knew your works first through the books. So of course I wanted to ask you about the books. So I had this plan. First I would try to make a sketch of your earlier works, so there will be an idea of what you have done. And then I would like to ask you about this special exhibition, Take Care of Yourself. Is that okay for you?
I'm obedient.
Oh.
I am obedient. So far.
Yeah, I know that in one interview you gave in one of your interviews you told the interviewer that there was a difference between the wall, I mean the wall that the work was exhibited on, and the books.
Yeah.
And there was an explanation for this, and that was your father. You told the interviewer that you wanted to seduce your father.
Yeah, my father was an art collector, and I'm trying to get this. My father was an art collector, and he had a lot of contemporary artwork on his walls. And I came back in France when I was 26 after traveling many years, and I was lost. I didn't know what to do. And I thought the best way to seduce him would be to try to imitate what I could see on the walls. So the wall for me, was an attempt of seduction.
And I was wondering if your father was a publisher, would you have become a writer then?
I guess yes.
But this
We can go on like that.
I know. And I won't do it because it's very tempting to talk about psychology, but we won't do that. For the start, the difference between the wall, because the wall is your living, you also said, it's where you...
The wall is, I sell my works, it's where I live. It's also was a most difficult challenge. The book for me is more sexy, sensual, it's easier, it's more playful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier for me to make the books.
Mm-hmm.
The wall is more a fight.
Mm-hmm. It's a fight. And you will see it when the exhibition opens up, that they are very, very impressive. I mean, it's really, the wall is something in itself when you exhibit. It's not just one work, they communicate, and it's, you will know the meaning of a wall when you have seen it. And this is the book. And I always worked with the books, of course, and the possibilities of a book, and what can a book be. And studying your books, I was wondering, a book should be a poem or a novel or a book on gardening, but your books, they are a mixture. What do you think of them as?
The book is also something else for me. It's like, for example, in Take Care of Yourself, I asked 107 women to interpret a breakup letter, and some of them wrote texts that were like 15 pages. They did a real university job. And me, when I put it on the wall, sometimes I just wanted one image, one word. I could not put so much text on the wall. So the book for me was a way not to betray them, to put everything. Then it allowed me to play on the wall, because their work is in the book. So, for example, in this case, the book was a way to give me freedom on the wall, without, with taking all their work, not just picking one word.
But the books are special. I mean, it's interesting. If we just isolate, when some people want to describe it as Sophie Calle, she's a writer. No, she's an artist. She's a performance artist. I'm not so concerned about that. But you are a writer, so there are a lot of texts. But are you thinking, especially on the book when you publish, or is it's not just a supplement for?
No, generally I do both things together, and yeah, I try to go in the same time. But as I say, the wall is more the challenge. So.
So you wouldn't.
But the text, until Take Care of Yourself, for me, the text was the main part. I had an idea, for example, follow somebody. Then I realized it. It took me 1 month. Then to write it could take me 1 year, and the image were secondary. With Take Care of Yourself, it's a little different because I lost the text. I gave it to those 107 women by asking them to interpret the text. So in a way, I didn't know where my place was. And without really realizing it, I became more, I did better picture, because I think it was an unconscious way to take my place in the project, since I had quit the text that was usually the main part.
Yeah, but because I read that you said others could take the pictures for you, but they cannot do anything with the text. They are yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now this.
Yeah, for example, when I follow somebody, or the detective follows me, it's his pictures. When the picture is very difficult technically to take, I don't mind if somebody else does the picture for me. I have no pride in the photos. But the text, nobody touches it.
Well, one of my favorite, I just have to tell you, the point with Freud, where you visit Freud's house in London and take some of your wedding dress and put it on a coach and a lot of objects, and the texts that they are brilliant. I mean, that's writing. But you wouldn't dream of writing a book.
I don't think I can invent.
I don't believe you actually. That's another thing. But you could write a book without inventing.
Yes, but I think I found a place where we are not too many. If I write a book without inventing, I'm going to be in a bigger crowd. So I think I may as well stay where I am.
Because it probably has something to do with desire too. You have to desire to write a book. There must be a desire for writing a book.
Yeah, maybe I'm just afraid to write a book. But I think that, I'm afraid maybe not to be as good as many others. When in what I do, I'm not afraid anymore.
No.
I found my place.
Yes, yes.
So.
Yeah. And that's what really, we have a lot of discussions over the possibilities of the book. Does a book have to be a novel or a poem? I think that's what's challenging and really inspiring, because your books are so complex. There are notes, diaries, traveling notes and photos. So they are pieces in themselves. The sketch that I just mentioned that starts for me in 1979 with the sleepers. So I just wanted to tell the audience briefly about it, and please comment if there's something. That started with a bed, and already there was this idea about privacy. Was the idea about privacy there from the beginning?
There was no idea at the beginning.
No.
No, truly. The two first projects I made, it was just maybe to play, maybe there was no real idea. The bed, it's because I was sharing a place where you do photo lab in the night with a girl, and she worked and I worked, and one night she worked during the night and she was too tired. She asked if she could sleep in my bed. I made a comment about a bed being warm and being busy all the time, and suddenly I have the idea, but I don't know from where it came really and why I did it.
Because we are not supposed to talk about psychology, but there is also there is in your first work there was already the idea that will occur in many others of your work. So it's, you can find this line.
The absence.
Yeah, the absence.
A bed that's empty, a man you follow, you don't know, an hotel room where you don't see the clients, a man that goes, a mother that dies, a painting that's stolen, a blind that don't see.
Of course you could.
That's not psychology.
No, but Freud, Marcel Proust, that's psychology. And you said that would be fun, but that always got someone in it.
That
for
like
me,
a factory, like a factory.
For me, that would be a nightmare. Honestly, for me, that would be a nightmare.
I wasn't today. It would be a nightmare what to be with someone. I wasn't in the bed. What would be the nightmare?
To have
someone in the
just
bed.
to have someone in the bed.
But with you or without you? With you. But I wasn't.
Okay, so you just invited strangers and friends.
Yeah.
For the
in
bed.
my bed.
And then who are you?
With them sitting by the side.
Okay.
Watching.
Honestly, from I was very young, the worst thing I know is somebody is supposed to sleep in the same bed as me. So this has been, I still don't like it.
You have more problems than I
And already in the Sleepers was in 1979 and then there was 1981 the hotel. So then there was beds too. But then it was not your bed, but strangers.
Yeah, it was. The idea was to look at. I mean, every time I go in an hotel, I always think about who slept before me in the bed. What did they do? Maybe we should have met. You know, the story of a room. I always imagine if they left something, and so the idea came from this. And I tried to do the portrait of the room by watching everybody. You know, one day it was a woman alone sleeping on the left side, another day somebody. I tried to make the portrait of the room through the different people that occupy the room during 1 month.
Very beautiful title, Sweet Venetian.
That's something else. That's following.
That was the following.
That was the following. This has in relation with the first project, The Sleeper, that I didn't know really if it was art or why I was doing it. When I came back to Paris, I was lost, as I said, and I started to follow people just to see if they would show me places in Paris that I didn't know, take me to neighborhood. I had no energy, so I decided that those people would be the motor of my days. I would go where they go, like that I would not have to decide, to choose what to do, I would just follow people. And one day I followed a man, I lost him and I found him again in the evening, so I thought I should become more professional and just stay with him. And he took me to Venice, and so that's a Sweet Venetian. But I was not sure why I was going there. I was going there because it was again in my mind, but I didn't know if it would be for art or just to find a way to.
When I looked through the book, it was it was also a sort of map of the labyrinth of Venice.
Yeah.
Like when you're following people in France, it's also a portrait of a city or Paris.
Yes, when I followed people in France, it was more to find things to do in the day, just to do what people do, not to have to decide anything.
But is it only me that it becomes a portrait of a city too?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. Venice, definitively, because Venice is a perfect city for that kind of wandering. Like it's a labyrinth, so you just even when I lost a man, I found him again. And in Paris, when the Surrealists they walked, Nadja
Nadja was reminded me the photographs in Nadia Platon's. As I told you, I had a great pleasure in making notes but it's so immense. Your work, there are certain patterns. I had to be I had a feeling of being a detective, following a detective. And oh, did you do that? Oh, no, how is it possible? The address book was, you said that maybe that was the only time that you crossed the line for what could be dangerous or...
not dangerous, cruel.
Yeah, cruel. Not dangerous, cruel.
I tell what it is?
Yeah.
The address book, it's I was invited by the daily paper Libération to do a project, a feuilleton, every day. So the challenge was to do every day, like a series that every day brings to the other. So at the time I found an address book in the street and I decided to do the portrait of the man through the description of the people that were in the address book. So I went to see them one by one and I say, would you talk to me about this man? So sometimes it was somebody that had not seen him for 6 months and just had lost track of him. Sometimes it was people repairing the house that just knew where his house was and where the bedroom was. Sometimes it was a close friend. So it's a portrait of him through everybody's description, more or less private, depending the relationships they had with him. And it was published daily in Libération. And and I was sure this man would love it because every people I went to see told me, oh, if it was not about him, we would not talk to you, but he's going to like it so much that we can talk. And I never met him because fortunately he went to really far away, so he was not there when I started. And so I was sure he would love it because all his friends said so, and I started even to fall in love with him. I liked the neighborhood where he was, I liked his friends, I liked everything I heard about him, I liked the books he read, the restaurant he went to eat, everything I learned about him, I felt close, so I tried to, I thought that when he would come back we would fall in each other's arms. And the opposite happened. He was extremely angry and decided to take me to court. But actually I wasn't responsible in front of the law. The newspaper was responsible. So he asked if he was publishing a picture of me without clothes, which was a way to put me nude in public. That was his way to analyze the answer. He would not take me to court. And he gave his name that I had never given. I never gave his name. I said D, but he gave his real name. And the newspaper published the photo of me without clothes and his answer, which was really nice for me because what was interesting in that project is that some people liked it because they thought it was an invention. Others liked it because they thought it was true. Others disliked it. So suddenly, by giving his name and answering, he gave reality to the project when many people thought I was just in my bed inventing a character and making a novel. So it gave a reality, and he published the photo, which was very easy to find because I was a stripper, so nude was not a real problem for me. So
we didn't talk about that because I jumped over it. But this reaction with the address books, you tell later that made you
yes. It's
change your perspective.
It's the only time where I thought maybe I should not have done it, or maybe I should have done it differently. But in the same but I was driven by the fact his friends were all enthusiastic. Also, I didn't give his name, but in the same time, if I am sincere, the excitement I had to do it was stronger than the guilt. So I think I would have done it anyhow. Still now. So.
But you tell that you change the perspective because you turn your look on yourself, and that was the result was the making of the autobiographies.
Yeah, because I received a lot of mails at Libération, but bags of mail. Half really enthusiastic. It was popular, this in the newspaper, so many people discussed it. And many enemies also writing. It's the first time I had to face unknown enemies. And so to give me a rest, I decided to change, to talk about myself and not about.
So you did already in maybe your next project, No Sex, last night.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story too, because you meet this man, Greg, and you say that Greg's dream was to make a film, and my dream was that he would become my husband. So you decided you wanted to make a film.
Yeah, I mean the film was a carrot. He wanted to make a film. I never wanted to make a film, but I thought that I would trap him by simulating. I would make a film. And actually, I was taken. I think I'm maybe the only person that made a film without wanting it, because
you wanted Greg.
I wanted Greg.
Yeah.
And I filmed, but I filmed because it was very cheap, because it was video, so you just put tapes. It's not costly. But I could have not even put the tape in the video. And when we arrived in California, I was proposed to edit the movie, and I didn't believe at all there was a movie. But I thought if we edit it, he will stay the time of the editing, so I will gain some more time with him. And it's during the editing, after 10 minutes film, that I realized there was maybe a movie. Then I changed completely my idea. Suddenly the movie became the priority. But all the time we shot and traveled across America, and also there was a movie. I just thought I was gaining time.
And he became your husband.
He became my husband. But I did well when we finished the movie and wrote "and," we divorced. So he became my husband at the time of the editing. That was 9 months. There are. It's a strange game in work. You never know whether this is. Is it a game, or is it just the way it is? But there was throwing with the dice. Well, the No Sex Last Night is completely different from all the other projects. No Sex Last. Normally, I use elements of my life to make a work of art of it. In this case, I use the pretext of the work of art to live the life I wanted, which was to marry this man. So the work of art was not my interest, it was a pretext. When usually it's at reverse, something happened, and I try to see what kind of, how I can take a distance with the situations by doing a work out of it, and which is a way to step out, look at it, describe it, which is a way to completely take a distance by not being under the feeling or the emotion, but just stepping out. In the case of the movie, it was the opposite. I didn't care about the work of art. No. But in the same time, the work of art is what made us be together, marry, divorce, stay friends. Because we had something together instead of just an awful relationship we made a movie.
I think this is one of the difficult points, because, as you said, in some work you create a situation, and then maybe it becomes art, and the other way there is something there that is natural, and then it becomes art. But when one is thinking of art constantly, then everything becomes art.
Yes and no. I mean, when I go to the market to buy the food, it's not art. So there are moments that escape. But it's true that I'm used to when I watch like that situation, or yes, it's. I always think I always keep things because I always think maybe I could use it someday. So I have drawer with everything. I keep everything because who knows? Maybe I could use it. So I'm used to the fact I could use it sometime. So in a way, yes, it's always there.
That's also you have these cabins with all the things that you have collected, and 40 days of birthday, you get some gifts, and when you display them, and then you can. By the way you display your things, you can also see the line in your works. That there are
but this always comes from a real. It's not. For example, the birthday gift, during 14 years I kept all my I invited as many people as I was old, and I kept all the birthday I received and never touched them. But this didn't come from a game like that. It came from the fact that on my birthday I was completely anxious. I was so anxious that every time something wrong would happen because my anxiety was calling for disaster. And so I decided that if I invited as many people as I'm old, at least I would make a protection around me that day by creating a ritual. And then I thought that if I have proofs of love by people, like they give you maybe a pair of shoes, if you don't keep them, you wear them, and 2 years later you throw them in the garbage because they are finished, and then you lose the proof of love. So I thought that if I was keeping everything, it would be like a protection against the fear of the lack of love. So if it's 6 months later I'm depressed, I can open the cabinets and open the gifts, and it's like Christmas every day. And so it was not, I mean, it was a game and it was fabricated, but in the same time it came from a real fear. And I stopped doing it the day when I was 40 that I realized I was not afraid anymore, and that I didn't care. And then there was no more reason to make such a fancy ritual because the fear was not, there was no necessity.
Protection, but all the stuffed animals that you keep, has that something to do with protection too?
No. No, but I don't use them in my work.
The cat?
Well, the cat, one cat. Because I needed a cat, but I have hundreds of stuffed animals.
You have hundreds of stuffed animals?
Hundreds, yes. I have, and they are all my friends, you know. Every time somebody enters my life, I give them an animal.
You give them a stuffed animal?
No, I give the name of that person to my animals. So, you know, when my mother died, I bought a giraffe to replace her. So my giraffe is my mother.
I don't understand it. I always keep things. My mother's lamps. My mother was very fond of lamps. So I still keep the lamps, and every time I take it off, I good night, mother, and I turn it on. Good morning, mother. This I have a great collection of lamps. From some of them from the girls' friends, of course, and my mother's lamps.
But you say goodbye, mother, to all the lamps?
It's not psychology. It's not psychology of my lamps either. But then my sister is married to an electrician, and he said, Thomas, I can install this breaker, so you can just turn all the lamps off in one knob. I looked at him and said, are you going to kill me? It's a ritual. But I was a bit scared when
each of them have a name?
Not a name, only that I think of somebody. No.
But do you have anonymous lamp?
No, I don't think so, because I would throw it away if it didn't have a feeling.
Well, I'm sorry, but with an animal it's more sane than with
my mother's lamp. My mother's lamp, it's always warm. Huh? So sometimes when I'm really depressed, true, I sit right behind like this. Then at one moment, my mother died because of smoking. But at one moment, when I was sitting writing
the lamp smoke.
The bulb was starting blinking. And I said, oh, the lamp's dying. So I jumped up and ran into the kitchen, found a new bulb, running in, and oh, I saved it. And it was like a heart. The bulb, the lamp was going.
She was already dead?
She was already dead. So this could have been the second time. This is my perversion. I haven't told her.
The lamp.
The lamp. I was, of course, very curious when I came to the Gotham handbook, your collaboration in this strange way with the writer Paul Auster. And maybe some of you know it, but Auster wrote this novel called Inviterte, where there is a character called Maria. And it must have been strange. Did somebody tell you that he was writing about you, or how did you discover it?
He sent me the script.
He did? And how was the first reaction if you read? Because she's called Maria, but it's obviously that everything she do in the book is based on your
not the whole book, one chapter.
Okay.
It's me, I mean, she keeps her birthday gift, she follows people in the street, she's a chambermaid, she finds an address book. But it's just one chapter of the book. After she escapes me.
She escapes you. But then you trace her up in some way, because you write to Auster?
Yeah, I told him that since he used my life to transform what I do as a character in a novel, because I become Maria, and then Maria, because of her, somebody dies. I mean, then after, she goes away. But I thought, first I found in the chapter that's mine, two inventions of Paul Auster. Is Maria is strictly me, except she's blonde and younger and American, but otherwise she's strictly me, except she eats following the chromatic diet, red on Monday, orange on Tuesday, and she lives following certain letters of the alphabet, the B, the C, the W. So I thought, okay, since this chapter is me, I've not done those two things, so I'm going to do them. So I started to live following the letter and eating chromatic diet. And then I asked him to do another step, to do exactly the opposite. That to write a character in a novel named Sophie, and I would take the book and I would do everything the book says to me. So, which was just the opposite. And Paul Auster refused because he was afraid that if he says that I go in such a city and something wrong happens to me,
he had the responsibility.
Having written the script of my life, he would have the responsibility of what would happen. So he refused. And I insisted a lot because I liked the idea and I wanted to do it, and I wanted to become the character in a novel. And so finally he did something in between. He gave me instructions of things to do. But in a way, he was telling what I should do, which was to distribute food, talk to strangers in the street, smile to everybody, and take a public space in New York and behave like if it was mine. I took a phone booth and I decorated it and put a recorder in it, and food and newspaper and money and flowers and everything, and behave like if it was my own house. And I did it, but in the same time it was not, it was like events like that, but it didn't change my life. When what I wanted was become someone else by obeying the book, and become from one else, not for 1 hour here and there, but for a certain period of time. Initially, I had given Hollister 1 year of my life, that I would, for 1 year, I would give myself to the book. But it was not the case, but still it was better than nothing, so I did the phone.
And this is, the result was a book, not by Hollister, but by it's...
Well, I decided to use his book as column vertebral, spinal, as a spinal, just to follow his book. So every project Maria talks about, I showed it by saying, no, it's not like that, it's like that. And then the phone booth, and then also the chromatic diet. So everything, and everything he described in his book, I took back saying, no, it's not Maria, it's me, and by putting the reality. I mean, the real events.
So it becomes a document of your work, and then
yeah, but through his eyes. And through his choice of works. It was a way to do a kind of big book, but through his selection.
And I just have to say that you should take the possibilities, because the books are sold outside here. It's always difficult to get books. So I have, each time I travel, I say, is there a Sophie Calle book? Yeah, I found one in Moss, a little place in Holland. Yeah, and this one. So, they have Sophie Calle, they have Sophie Calle in Moss. And then I found one in Copenhagen. So I have one in Copenhagen, and this one I found in Copenhagen. There is a piece now for the theater, based on one of your diaries. So I saw that there was a good collection of your books. So I think I should take the opportunity. Now we have to start. Where I have I don't have any questions. I haven't gotten to the questions. Yes. But now this is questions. I had one friend who said to me, just forget all the things that you are supposed to ask her. Just think, what do you really want to ask her about? So I will.
What my camera is.
Yeah.
Nothing technical.
No, nothing. Has to do about love. It has to do about love. Not personally, not necessarily. It has to do about love. But I just wanted to make this line in the presentation of the work, because there is such a high quality in everything, and there is a line, so it's really amazing to follow in the work. And then take care of yourself. I saw it in Copenhagen. Now it's here, and I wanted to just talk about a bit about that, because it's a letter. It's based on the letter. And the letter is here, and you give it to 107 different women, and they analyze it, or read it, or sing it, or
interpret it.
Interpret it. So this is what we can see. This is what we can see. But as a man, if you gave the letter to me,
yeah,
I thought about that.
It's still a possibility.
I read it like you were giving it to me, and I said, because it's really interesting to see all the reactions. And now I discovered something new, the Italian girl who makes jokes about it. And it's so funny. Sometimes it's sad. Sometimes it's a sad thing. But
you didn't have the movie in it when you bought the book?
I didn't buy this one, so but she talks in Italian, and then suddenly there was one connection in my head. That was in the opera Don Giovanni. Because he makes a list, but it's Leporello who's taught to write a list of every girl that he seduced. It's written down, and then when he said about you, he said, Leporello, how many girls did I conquer? And he said, oh, there is in Germany 66, and in France, 253. And in Italy, 362. But in Spain, 1,003. and Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, wrote an essay on this. 1,003. Is it possible? And this Italian girl, she said, you will become the fourth. The man who writes the letter to you has already 3 love affairs.
Yeah, but in the same time, yeah.
In the same time. And as a man, I have to admit, I thought he must be either an aristocrat or a very privileged man. Or is it just a cultural difference? A man having already 3 lovers and then So that was. I wanted to ask you: how is it possible to be fascinated by a man who already has 3 lovers?
You asked me? He didn't have already 3 lovers. When I met him, he had 3 lovers, and I said, I don't want to become the 4th. So when I was with him all the time, I was with him, he only had me. It's when came the possibility that it starts again to have 4 that I decided it was finished. But I was alone with him.
Yeah. Because that's a complex thing in the letter. Because when he explains himself, he said, I know that you don't want to be the 4th
one.
And now I'm taking up the the relationship with the 3 others. So to be honest, I can't lie to you. So
yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a way for somebody, it's the way men leave women. They don't say I'm leaving you. They put a situation that you cannot stand. So they say, oh, you left. When they put all the elements for you to leave. So that's a way to live, pretending you don't.
But there must be a cultural difference also.
It's what men do. I mean, usually men do this. They don't leave you. They just say, we are going to be 4, knowing that you said you would not be 4. So then I say, okay, goodbye. But who left the other? The man. No?
I can't answer that. I did analyze the letter because it was really interesting because there was such a difference.
It's a writer, it's a good writer that wrote the letter.
And I saw that he was really, and that's fascinating when they analyze the text.
Yeah,
it's very carefully thought.
He published books, and actually I met him because I loved his book, and I went to see him to say how much I loved his books. I mean, his letter is the worst piece of writing he ever made. His books are not really. His books are really good. For such a good writer, his letter.
Maybe he should start just concentrate on writing books.
Yeah. I think he won't write anymore.
There's 4 novels. Having an affair with I'm from a small city in European. And when I lived in Copenhagen, I went into this bar and there was a guy standing next to me and was kissing a girl working in the bar constantly. And I thought, oh, he must be happy now because she looked really nice. But at one point he said, are you going to stay here for a while? Because I have to run. I have another girlfriend at another bar. and I said, oh, yes. And can you just look after my belongings? And then he went. And he came back an hour later. This is interesting. Now it's I would say at the moment in my life, in fact, I try to live alone because it's something new.
Alone with your land.
Well, yeah. I mean, in investigating things that relationships, you follow. There are similarities between this and the letter in Anatoly, which is also sort of love letter, and I also discovered in this exquisite pain that there was a letter from also a writer, G. No, sorry. He was a writer, Hervé Gilbert.
Hervé Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Yeah, he was a writer.
So there has been I mean, there has been a sort of investigation in your work with letters and men.
I like writers.
Yeah, but you shouldn't go further with them, I think. There was one Norwegian lady, quite famous, Janne Mykle, who was married to a Norwegian writer, Anna Mykle, who was an asshole. But he was a brilliant writer. And she said, every writer should be married, but never marry a writer. But you haven't done it.
Married a writer?
Yeah.
Well, what means marry? Sleep with a writer or marry a writer?
Marry.
Marry, I don't marry anymore.
No.
I mean, I only marry men that don't want me. I mean, that's the only interest I find in marriage. I will never marry somebody that loves me.
Why not?
I don't need to marry somebody that loves me. I can live with somebody that loves me. I don't need to marry.
No, that's true. True. That's true. No, as I said, I'm 52 now. and I was thinking seriously in that age to have a new experience, something new. And then I read Rainer Maria Rilke, and he said, because I was left by my girlfriend, which I really loved, and I thought that we should marry, and that was what I wanted, but so I was really sick for a long period. And Rilke said, if you're lonely, you should try to be even more lonely. And so I said, okay, so I went to Spain, up in the mountains, and really there was nobody there, I was sleeping, and I was happy. And after having this, really, and I said, maybe that's the new thing, to be alone. So now I read a lot about it. What is the French word? Does it exist? Célibataire?
Célibat.
Célibat. Does it exist in France?
Everybody has 4 people. That's the rule in France.
Yeah, because when I asked people about it, they said, "Well, no, that was in the Middle Ages when the monks they were celibate." But I think it's at least for me also seriously it's something of a new experience. Isn't that also what artists are? New experiences? I mean.
Is this what art is about?
Yeah.
No, it's life is about art. I mean, there is nothing new in art.
You don't think so?
No.
No.
I mean, it's new and not new. It's a repetition of something. The first time I had the idea to follow people in '79. I was told that an artist called Vittorio Conci, an Italian artist, had done it. And in a way, by telling me this, it's like somebody wanted to stop me of doing it. And I didn't know what to do because I thought it was my idea. I had it alone. I wanted to do it. So, and I didn't know, in the same time, I didn't want to do something that had been done already. And so I went to New York to meet Vittorio Conci. and saying if he thinks it's not the same, then I don't care about the others. So I went to see him and he explained what I wanted to do by following people, and he gave me his benediction, explaining me how different the purpose of what we were doing were. And in a way, he gave me the freedom to do it because it was not the same. So, you know, love books, poetry, everything has been written. It just after it's a style, it's the way you do it. It's been done. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there is you can see the tradition, the art history tradition in your work too. But it's new because it's you do it in 1979 or something like that. So there are both tradition and something new, right? I think in the work. It's a classical. The love letter is a classical, and as I said, there is a line in letters in your work that should be considered as something special, I think. Yes, that's what I really wanted to ask you about love. But maybe we should end there also. with the conversation.
You have enough.